how that game ended right now?
Yeah, it's an unfortunate end, but just got to bounce back and be prepared for next week, Halloween.
Yeah, like Blake said, definitely unfortunate that, the way we lost that game. But, I'm saying, we're going to put it behind us. We got a strong core in that locker room, and this is something that's going to help us grow in the future as a team.
Like, it seemed really similar to the Kennesaw game where you guys jump out, do a really strong touchdown drive, and then you guys kind of stall out. What do you feel like changed offensively after that opening series?
Just little things, just play needs to be made. Just doesn't go our way, and we just got to find a way to bounce back and score more touchdowns.
So you feel like penalties would cost you guys, on a couple of scores, like you feel like it would cost you, something like.
Oh, yeah. Anytime that you have penalties as a team, it's always going to set you back. And I feel like that was really the difference maker for us tonight, those penalties, on special teams and on the defense and stuff. So, those are things that we always preach about, about like not having, but, we'll get those things cleaned up in practice next week.
Blake, just coming back from the injury, how did you feel personally? And then was the game plan going in designed quarterback runs, or did you just take off all the times to make plays?
I feel great. Adrenaline's bumping. I'm all good. Yeah, the quarterback runs were slightly taken out, but yeah, I definitely, when the play needed to be made and take off and run, I did.
Like, what did Coach Covey tell you on that final drive in the fourth? You guys had no timeouts and trying to obviously go down and get a score. What was just kind of his plan to you guys offensively?
Go try to score a touchdown, and if that doesn't happen, then just get us in field goal range for John.
Said obviously, you were here, last year for that Jacksonville State game, kind of similar ending. Like, as a leader in this team, like, how do you make sure like the guys don't kind of fracture after a game like this and kind of stay together?
We got to talk to the guys. I feel like, like I've said in the past, this is probably one of the more closer teams I've been a part of here in all my years at Tech. And I know for a fact that, this is something that's not going to splinter the team. If anything, it's going to bring us closer together. Because, after coming in after that game, I see a lot of guys that care. And they were hurt by this loss. And this is just something that's just going to help us grow in the future.
Any questions?
You.
Thank you.
Followed in Western Kentucky in overtime, 28-27. Coach, you can just start us off with an opening statement on tonight's game, and we'll field some questions.
I think that from the last time we played to this time, I think the team, our guys did a great job as far as learning and improving from the standpoint of being able to handle adversity. I think the first half, we played, we played a poor first half, on all three sides. And the guys rebounded, I think, in the second half, and guys made plays, guys competed. I was really proud of how we moved the ball on offense. We did, I actually, in the first half, we did do a good job moving the ball. We missed a couple field goals, and those were tough in terms of getting momentum in the game early. But the thing that I share with the team afterwards is really there's not a word that I can say, there's not a message that I can say that's going to ease the wound of this sting, because it hurts. We really have 108 guys, I think, that poured everything they could into a football game, into a week of preparation, and belief and expectation from the standpoint of what we were going to do. And at the end of the day, Western Kentucky, credit them at the two-point conversion. Their quarterback did a great job of keeping the play alive and finding a backside drag, on the two-point play. There's a lot of bright spots from our team from the standpoint of how we responded and how we made plays on special teams. And then, really just quite couldn't overcome some of the mistakes that we made against a really good football team. I think that's really what it boils down to. That was really what we talked a lot this week as far as being able to, getting those situations and being able to overcome. And the list of us where we overcame, and, whether it be a penalty on second down, it pushes you back, having an opportunity to overcome that and continue to get the drive, get yourself down in field goal position. Having an opportunity to overcome a turnover, or overcome where, they go down and score, and our football team rising up. And I thought there were situations where we did that tonight. But at the end of the day, we just didn't make enough plays. And again, they made a great call on the two-point conversion. And credit to them and to their quarterback for keeping it alive. I think our defense played a really good game in the second half. They shut them out in the second half until overtime. And you made it there at the fourth, made a good throw and catch on the fourth down, and to get down into the situation. So, there's a lot of bright spots individually and collectively in terms of our guys playing better in the second half together. But ultimately, we want to win the football game. We weren't able to do that.
You guys are 0-6 in overtime in your tenure here. I guess, why do we keep kind of finding ourselves in the execution? You guys just aren't able to get overcome. Why do you feel like that is?
What's the question about? Because you're asking about execution and overtime.
Why do you feel like you guys keep finding yourselves in this position?
Well, we've been in overtime because we've played a lot of close games. Our football team has. I thought the execution on offense was really good in the first overtime, as far as us being able to get down there and score. And then defensively, they convert I believe it was a 4th and 8 on a really good throw and catch. And then they were able to convert there on a 2-point conversion, where they were able to keep the play alive. And so, I think from an overtime standpoint, this game is, to me, a lot different than the other ones that we may be talking about. But, I think the biggest thing is they made a really good throw on a 2-point conversion play, and we weren't able to get him down.
I guess, the point is, we're talking about after that Kennesaw State game, you guys open with the strong touchdown drive, and then the third straight game, you guys open with a touchdown. You don't score the rest of the first half. Coming out 2 bye weeks in 3 weeks, how do you feel like the execution is just not still there?
We score a touchdown, we move the ball down the field, we turn it over on downs, which I thought it wasn't I thought we could have, probably ran a little bit harder in that situation, and then we missed 2 field goals. And so I think that was our first half, and so you're able to execute those. Peanut, he ended up tweaking his groin 2 days before the game, and it's really, he's very similar to the rest of the guys on our team. He's in tears, before the game every day because he knows that he wants to be out there to help us. And so from the standpoint of the first half, I thought we moved the ball on really all 4 of our drives. The turnover on downs isn't ideal, and then mixing the field goals. One was a snap, and then the other just hit the upright. Yeah, I think it was a really bad one. I mean, I think that I don't understand who wanted to coach him better in that situation. I think there were several calls from that standpoint that really impacted us. But I think I have a hard time watching the film and talking to a player. How else do you want to coach it from the standpoint of what he did and what an impact that had on the game? You lose a guy that's going to spell you amount of linebacker who's a really good player, an impact player, an impact play. And so I didn't think it was a very good call at all. Well, I think in the first half they did for sure. You know, they aided them and kept their drives alive, and they did a good job of converting third and longs. You know, and we've got to do a better job of getting off the field in those situations. You know, in terms of their concepts, they did a nice job of being able to attack some of the things we do on defense. And then I really thought our guys rebounded in the second half on defense and did a nice job as far as shutting these guys out.
What's your assessment of Blake coming back from that injury? He had a pretty solid night. That minor interception, but overall played pretty well.
Yeah, I think it was very admirable. I mean, the guy's playing with a banged-up shoulder, and I thought he played really well. I thought he was accurate with the football. You know, the interception, he's running to his left, and he just threw it, and it just missed a little bit too much inside. But I thought that he made some critical runs as well whenever we needed it, which I was really concerned as far as how he was going to be able to handle, you know, being hit. And I thought he did a nice job, and I thought he was accurate. He was aggressive. And then I thought that he did a great job. Coach Franklin and the offensive staff, I thought, did a really nice job of putting this game plan together. You know, moving some of our personnel around, getting the guys the football that can make plays as we saw tonight. And I think you definitely saw a difference from that standpoint in the output in terms of yards. Again, we'd like, and they're really good. You know, Western Kentucky's, you know, whole deals on defense is they want to have takeaways, negative plays. They want to hold you to field goals, and they were able to do that. And I think that was a big difference in the game also.
The final drive of the fourth, I think Blake rushes for the quarterback power like 3 yards, then second down, you guys opted quarterback spike. What was the thought process of just that kind of like final minute?
Yeah, we ran quarterback counter. That was the play that we had ran previously where he bounced to the outside and we were able to get out of bounds. And so we were really hoping for the same thought process from that standpoint. He wasn't able to bounce it on the counter. We spiked it on second down, and then we had a third down play and then run our field goal team out on the field. And really from how it all but missing it, all but getting it blocked, it turned out because it was the last play of the game. And I thought our guys handled that well from the standpoint of on the third down, hey, we want to run the ball and get about 5 yards and get the ball out there with our field goal team. And so from an execution standpoint of the operation, that was really good. The thought process was kind of exactly what we talked about. We just didn't execute in terms of the field goal.
Burnett saw a lot of action tonight in the Wildcat formation. Was that the game plan going in, especially with Blake injured a little bit?
Yeah, we felt really good about Clay and Wiggs and how they've really developed us out of the backfield. And you're looking at it, you got a really big, powerful running back. How can we, help get our team in better situations in short yardage and then also just in the open field in terms of production and the run game? And Andrew gave us that tonight, and I was really proud of him. And it does exactly what you said. It alleviates some of the quarterback run game that you lose, whenever you're playing with a guy that's banged up. And then, we tried to keep, we inserted Trey a few times in there trying to provide, some quarterback run game there. But I thought Andrew did a really nice job of getting some first downs. I believe the fourth down he converted, down on the far end, and then also the touchdown there at the end of the game.
One of the big positives tonight was that third quarter kickoff return. I mean, was that you guys practiced that or throwback to play to
Yeah, that was Coach Sharp. We've practiced that for, I guess, probably 4 years. So I guess there's a lot of guys that have been here that were really happy to see that we finally ran it. And so it's one of those things where the look has to be right. And we saw what they were doing on kickoff cover from the standpoint of how they waterfalled and they squeezed the backside. And we watched early in the game in terms of what they were doing, and we knew we had that look. And so it was something that really gave our team a spark. And really proud of how well that Clay, how well that the wedge executed the blocking, the throw across the field to Devin, and him being able to stay in bounds and get the touchdown. That was a big highlight for sure.
You mentioned it was hard to get a message to your guys around the locker room. Can you just talk about what the morale is like and how you let them sit in this a little bit but not over-consume them?
Yeah, you're right. It's a good question because I think we all are going to sit in it tonight, and then we're going to wake up tomorrow and they're going to go to class, and they're going to go to study hall, and we expect them to go and make good grades and go to do all the things that they're required to do because that's the expectation of what we have for them in terms of being excellent. And as coaches, we're going to wake up, we're going to grade the film, which most of the guys will grade it tonight, and we're not going to put this behind us quickly in a way of, hey, let's just not acknowledge it and move on. We're going to put it behind us quickly tomorrow from the standpoint of we've got another game that we have to prepare for, and then I think getting our kids back out on the practice field again and having them move around and be around each other because again the message that I told them is there's 108 guys and there's a lot of energy and life in that team and they need to just continue to stick together and be together and that's what we've got to do in terms of working on practice 2 days this week. We'll probably have Friday, I believe that we'll have it day off just because it's going to be the Saturday before we play the next game against Sam Houston. So, we'll sit in it. It should sting, and I know that it does with them based off of the body language, based off the tears and based off of how much they spent themselves in a worthy cause. And we got to pick ourselves up, and again, tomorrow, and we've got to work. And we've got to get better, and we've got to win, and I think that this team has still got a lot of improvement and a lot of production ahead of us, and the good thing is we've got 5 more opportunities, and we want to earn another one, and, who knows, try to play ourselves back into the conference race if we can do that.
All right, Coach, thanks for talking.
Yeah, thank you, guys.